Hello, and thanks for joining us for the Friends of the Farms lecture series. Every session is designed to deliver a small and in depth dose of cannabis education. I'm Candace Hawes, and I want to thank all of our customers from the pharmacy, the pottery, and the Natural Healing Center, as well as all of our friends joining us from around the world. Every week, we host a new great guest and many topics, so make sure you subscribe to our channel so you get notified when we add new content. Our guest speakers today are Paul Roethle and Mason Miller from chemistry, who are going to explain the advantages of the extracts and wellness products derived from craft cannabis cultivation. They'll discuss how craft cannabis cultivation and regenerative practices lead to superior quality, terpenes, and potency, resulting in more profound and nuanced experience for consumers. Before we get started with their wonderful presentation, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our speakers. Before launching chemistry, Paul and his co-founder Trevor founded Perdot Labs. The Oakland-based business-to-business manufacturing lab offered custom cannabis extraction, compounding, and formulation services to the burgeoning industry utilizing novel cannabis extraction, refinement, and methods developed by Paul. The experience and supply chain relationships they formed led to the launch of the chemistry brand. Since late 2017, chemistry has been an innovator and leader in the cannabis market, focused on high quality and sustainable, expertly crafted cannabis products. Before Perdot Labs, Paul spent 7 years at Gilead Sciences, with the majority of his time being spent as a research scientist in the medicinal chemistry. Paul was a key team member on projects focused on developing drug candidates for HIV, hepatitis, and immunology. Paul finished as a senior manager in product portfolio management, where he managed the design, implementation, and update of project development plans for global and pediatric programs within the liver disease therapeutic area. Paul holds a PhD in organic chemistry from the University of California, Berkeley, and a BS in chemistry from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Our second,
that was a mouthful. Good job, Candace.
Yeah, well,
Sorry, that was a long
one. You've done a lot of stuff. You're very accomplished, and it's nice that you've taken all that and that you've applied it to cannabis. So that's wonderful. Our second speaker, Mason, moved to Los Angeles from Colorado in 2015, and immediately started working in the cannabis industry. He started as a bud tender of the Higher Path in Sherman Oaks, and quickly rose to management within a few years, and was top in sales. He continued working at the Higher Path for 7 years, and he created the Education and Training Development Department, and he was responsible for teaching the master's class in retail cannabis and patient consultations. He led a team of trained consultants and created the Patient Consultation Program, helping medical patients with their cannabis needs. In 2020, he created the Higher Path Compassion Program, which helped over 200 veterans and patients get their medical cannabis for free under SB 34, which I have a deep passion for here. We have one at MHC and at Pharmacy and Pottery, and chemistry is a great partner to us in the SB 34 programs, and so we appreciate that. It's something we feel very passionate about, so we appreciate that. He worked with multiple brands and industry leaders such as Sean Kiernan from Weed for Warriors and Sweet Leaf Joe, who guided him in developing those programs. He also has worked as an education specialist and consultant for Flower Town and sales marketing with Resonate Blends. And in 2022, he was hired as the SoCal Regional Sales Manager for Chemistry, and now works as the Director of Sales in California. So I'm a big fan and a consumer of chemistry. I'm so happy to have you guys here with us today. I've always been an advocate of craft cannabis, and how important it is that we, protect and that we, consume and that we support these small craft cannabis farms. And, they have something very special to offer the market, and I love that you guys, also feel so special and so passionately about these brands. Let's see if we have this video queued up here yet. And if not, I think that we might have to come back to it maybe at the end. But
Close.
chemistry has a wonderful video that I want to share with you guys at the end. But let's just go ahead maybe and start going. We'll just go straight into Paul's presentation here. And another thing I love about your guys' brand is your vibrant marketing and coloring and your logos. It just makes me happy. Products make me happy. Maybe it's part of like the love and the care that goes into the flowers, and that's just part of craft cannabis. And maybe that's like why you picked like this color and the marketing, the branding.
That's
Maybe
part of it. So, I mean, the name and the colors like both kind of elicit a response. The rainbow to us, or our spectrum, it's not exactly the traditional rainbow. To us is about full spectrum. So that's kind of what chemistry stands for and what our products are all about. I'll just jump. Oh, actually, that's not there. Mission 1 is stay true to the plant, but the other one is about how we're, so passionate about full spectrum cannabis, where we really want to stay true to the plant and give you that plant experience in all different forms, from, flower, which is obviously the truest, to vapes and tinctures that, we want you to experience the nuance of that strain and that cultivar and that farm, really. And that's what we want to do today, is just kind of talk about our supply chain, talk about our products, not really just talk at you. We want to take you to the farm. We wish we could take you all there in real life, but this presentation today, we're going to kind of show you, where we get our weed and where it all starts with, and, just show you some of these beautiful farms, wonderful people, wonderful communities. And, that's where it starts. And then, the care that we take through the process, and then, getting it to the doors, like our wonderful partners at Pharmacy. And I actually drive by the Pharmacy Berkeley just about every day and wave and see all the wonderful stoners around. But yeah, so, please chime in if there's anything you want us to dive into, or specific questions about farms or people or strains or anything. We can geek out about, molecules or plants or fungi or anything. But yeah, really back to kind of what chemistry is. I talked about full spectrum and staying true to the plant, but it's not just about the molecules or the science. It's about the chemistry we have with the plant, with the medicine, with each other when consuming the plant. So it's not just meant to be like, dorky me, the chemist. It's really just about, the experience that happens inside of us, outside as these plants are growing. It's all chemistry. It's all around us. Anything to add, Mason, to kind of like summarize us in a little short phrase?
That was fantastic, and I couldn't agree more. I think what we'll probably allude to, and also hence the title alludes to, is that we really pride ourselves on being a craft brand and having something for everyone, whether it be the medical community needing this wonderful plant as excuse me, as their medicine, or even just to enhance their life, or for recreational and for fun, and to maybe just take the edge off at the end of the day, like you would with a cocktail, but instead you'd like to do it with these great herbs. So I'm really excited to go over our product lines with you guys, so everyone knows we have something for everyone in every avenue, and using responsible sourcing is really our biggest priority.
Everything we do is with intention. It's, like I said, starts with the farm, but, from our packaging to, the ingredients we use, which are always very limited, every little bit matters to us, in trying to, minimize our impact and bring the highest quality medicine, because that's what it is first and foremost. And what really launched this movement was the understanding of it as a medicine. And, we're going to continue to explore, together as a community, and hopefully even on a bigger stage, maybe with some federal stuff happening someday. Everyone cross your fingers. Talk to your politicians and tell them to stop discriminating against us. But it's the little things that really make our products different. And we tell people we're not going to be the most affordable product really in any category. It's because of these little things, like that we've taken that extra step to like use recycled, recyclable, or compostable materials, that we're paying a fair price for this flower to the families that are growing these, all over California. Ooh, did our video pop up?
Yeah, that
I
was
think
the
it did. Perfect timing.
It's a good time for an interlude. Let's have a little
Yeah.
video break, and then we'll jump into more details about the farms and all that stuff. So Mason and I are going to mute for a second.
Perfect.
Chemistry makes full-spectrum oil from sun-grown flower to make single-origin products.
We specialize in making full-spectrum extracts in 510 thread carts, tinctures, and diamonds.
Chemistry produces 2 lines of tinctures, single origin and moods. The single origin line comes from 1 harvest from 1 farm, and the moods line blends oils to create 6 set ratios.
Paul's the co-founder, the CEO, and the PhD behind chemistry. He grew up in Wisconsin and moved to California and got his PhD in organic chemistry from UC Berkeley. And then spent 7 years working for Gilead and was able to focus on HIV treatments and was part of the team that created the cure for hepatitis C. I don't think he was quite fulfilled in big pharma, and he wanted to redirect his focus on a plant that he'd always held dear, cannabis.
At Chemistry, we believe in small batch craft cannabis. We hand select our flowers for each product we make. 1 strain, 1 farm, 1 batch, 1 product. That's Chemistry. We pride ourselves on sourcing the finest sun-grown cannabis from leaders in regenerative farming. Cultivators are not just growing sustainably, but are regenerating the ecosystems they inhabit. Closed-loop systems collect water, recharge aquifers, sequester carbon, and fertilize the ground. Companion planting creates unique pollinator-friendly hedges, beneficial bugs and organisms, which eliminate the need for harmful pesticides. Environmental consciousness is a core value we hold dear, and it starts with the inputs of our products. These cultivation practices may not yet be common in large commercial agriculture, but cannabis has an opportunity to catalyze change in agriculture to heal our planet.
We are regenerating our natural resources around here. We're regenerating carbon, we're regenerating our water, all the nutrients that the water helps to grow, helps to sequester more carbon. So the more we build soil and sequester carbon, growing crops in that style, to me, this is regenerative cannabis farming.
Turning dirt into soil and introducing, air and biomass from our forest and really get that chemistry to start working together is something that is really defined kind of what we do.
We're in a place that is a very biodiverse, pretty wild land. It's a matter of understanding all of these elements that come together to create soil. In order to be as responsible in relationship to the land as possible, we farm on these little hillside terraces. There's a pond at the top of the property that gravity feeds all of the gardens. And so this gives us the opportunity to walk the property a lot and to really take the time to spend time with every plant.
Closing the loop not only is really great for the environment, but it's also creates the highest quality product. Utilizing all of our own materials here, we're really just creating an environment for the life to thrive. This way just makes the most sense.
Sustainability lives at the heart of our vision. We're committed to sourcing 100% sun-grown cannabis from the finest cultivators in Northern California.
Cannabis is a photosensitive plant. It's these subtle changes that happen during the day cycle that I think really influence this plant and allow it to soak up the subtleties, not only the broad strokes of how the sun is acting, that provide this plant with character and personality. This is a major difference between, say, indoor and sun-grown.
Our packaging is also made from Forest Stewardship Council certified 100% post-consumer materials.
Let's talk about full spectrum. We utilize a proprietary full spectrum method. It's extremely gentle with the plant and allows us to extract all the major minor cannabinoids, terpenes, and flavonoids. Flip to the back panel of any chemistry product and you'll see the chemistry full spectrum difference. Full spectrum means you're getting all that the cannabis plant has to offer, completely in balance as nature intended. Our customers report that chemistry products are the most therapeutic they've experienced.
There's so much more to cannabis than THC level, and we're just really breaking that open to see like, hey, what's your terpene? What's your phenol? I'll take one strain that has some of the cannabinoids and breed it with another one that's lacking. So I'm trying to fill out the full spectrum. And then the sun, the plants that go through the whole growing season having much more dynamic terp profiles than the plant that was only grown for 2 months indoor. So that natural connection has a lot to do with those full spectrum profiles. There's so many nuances.
First and foremost, our extracts are made differently, thoughtfully, and carefully. Our gentle extraction method utilizes liquids under no pressure compared to others that use gases under high pressure. Our ideal extract is an amplified version of the flower we started with and is always 100% cannabis derived and additive free.
Our proprietary methods produce thoughtfully refined full-spectrum products that are truly representative of the starting strain we sourced. We achieve this by using low-toxicity liquid solvents in a closed-loop system to filter and refine full-spectrum cannabis oil that is high in cannabinoids and rich in terpenes, flavonoids, and other minor molecules responsible for the plant's entourage effect. The solvents we use are organic compounds listed by the U.S. Pharmacopoeia as Class 3, the safest category alongside ethanol. Our process is truly unique in this industry. It's the combination of our extraction and refinement techniques together that make our 100% full-spectrum products. To be clear, that means no distillate.
And I'm going to stop it there. But if anybody wanted to see the whole video, which is just a couple minutes more, you guys have a Vimeo page, and Chemistry also has a YouTube page where you have a couple more videos that people video. It has a great, explanation of some of the different farms and why you guys work with them, and then also like shows a little bit of like the process that you guys do. But I'm really glad that came up and it was like the perfect time. So really glad that we could share that with you guys. So it was wonderful. Did you want to say anything about that video?
That really sets the stage nicely. It was made a couple of years ago before we had pre-rolls out. That was the only thing it didn't mention, but the whole concept is right on, and I still love that video.
Was that you narrating it too?
No, actually, that was Jimmy, who I was going to shout out also later on here, just for being awesome and being my mentor. Jimmy was a staple chemistry soldier for the longest time, and he's taking a sabbatical currently. But he's that buttery voice you hear in the background. I wanted to ask too, Paul, when's that mustache coming back, man? That looked good.
We'll have to figure out a Halloween costume that it's appropriate or something.
There you go.
It was time for No Shave November,
Yeah.
Hey, there it is.
We'll do it for a cause again. Or like not shave until weed is legal or something.
Yeah, there you go.
But that might be too long, unfortunately. We've all been waiting for a long time. But thank God we're in California. I mean, I see there's people all over, which is awesome. Thanks for joining us. And I hope you are somewhere that cannabis is legal in some ways. But yeah, we'll keep walking through here and show you some farms. And, again, please throw out questions in there if you'd like, or Candace will keep shooting some at us too. But yeah, this is kind of just reiterating a bit, obviously, what we heard in the video, which I'm really glad it worked out. But just, again, full spectrum, that's keyword for chemistry. Small batches, we, as many people in cannabis think they are craft, like we all try to be, and like, it's a great community and people care a lot, but there still is difference in scale in terms of, from cultivation to production, where, I can probably tell you something about almost every batch we've ever made. Like, that's how intimate we are with what we're working with. And, it's one of the most fun parts of my job when I get to go up to farms and visit people and, like in the video, put my nose right in the plants and, see them before they come to us. It's great. But yeah, again, we're trying to really capture that nuance of the strain. And I don't think it was said in that video nor in here actually, but I think a great analogy for chemistry is being like a winemaker. So I think a lot of people can understand the nuance of wine and how, a Cabernet grown in California is going to be way different than one grown in France. These things are what affect the character of the plant from season to season, from farm to farm. And that's really what we think is so fascinating. And, we do, like we said, source 100% sun grown, but we also respect indoor grows. We know that so many people were pushed indoors because of it being illegal and that we had to hide. And, real estate is not easy for people to get sometimes that can get them outdoors, so, it's not easy to grow outdoors in Oakland, for example. I live in Berkeley. I've tried here definitely enough times, but my neighbors always know. But, so there's still a lot of respect for indoor grows and they can do it great. But when talking about an agricultural product, a plant, it's our belief that it really should be outdoors in the ground. And yeah, that's kind of what this slide really highlights. A lot of words, but just look at the main things about us that are different. Again, single origin, like we said, most products that we make, like we said, come from one farm, one harvest, one strain to make one batch. Again, we're full spectrum. We don't distill. We don't want to rip things apart. Despite being a chemist, I'd love to try to rip things apart and study them like one at a time, but that's not the way cannabis works. It produces this amazing entourage, one of our favorite words, of different molecules, from the cannabinoids that we talk about most, THC and CBD, to the terpenes, which we're all getting to know more and more, which is, the aroma of cannabis and other plants, and flavonoids, another type of compound that like crosses into different plants, and something that, we haven't even really, I think, scratched the surface really in cannabis to truly understand that. They're really minor components, but they're important as well.
And to kind of,
Go ahead, Mason.
Sorry. I was just going to jump off that too. And because I feel like another really great way to think about that, especially from the consumer level, is an analogy I taught in a lot of my classes where it's, the differentiation for us is like going to a symphony and seeing the entire orchestra with every single instrument behind it, as opposed to a lot of these, isolated products or isolated cannabinoids. It's much like going to see a symphony with just one violin player the whole time. So it doesn't give you that full experience. It could definitely work, and it might be right for somebody, and that's great. But getting that full orchestral, all the different instruments behind it, meaning all the different terpenes and cannabinoids that are flavonoids that are participating to that effect, can really increase its longevity as opposed to a lot of these isolates. And that's why another reason why the entourage effect and full spectrum are so important.
Yeah, it's a much more powerful sound, all those instruments together, than like a one piano.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And like we have the capability, these days to analyze a strain and try to replicate it. It happens with like botanical terpene blends where it's like, oh, we know the top 10 or 20 things in there and can get 98% to the real thing. But it's crazy. Those little differences are what makes a strain and what may make the effect vary, and why, we take such love in keeping it all together.
Absolutely.
But yeah, now let's talk. I think we're going to focus for a bit on our farms, just show you them, talk about the people, the strains, what's cool about them, and then end with the products, because that's kind of how it works. We get the weed first, we make a product, and then it comes to you. But what we try to do is source from regenerative farms as much as possible. And when you think about these buzzwords in anything, cannabis, agriculture, food, regenerative, organic, like you kind of know what they mean, but it's important to really understand the difference. Organic is kind of one step to us where we hope everyone is practicing organic cultivation practices, but regenerative is like beyond that, where you're thinking about what we're talking about here is like reusing water, using inputs just from your land or surrounding area, not having to ship stuff in, living soil, companion plants where it's not just monocrop. That's kind of the thing I like to see most, is where it's not just rows of cannabis, which is still beautiful. And again, back to indoor, like when people see like a sea of green, it's like kind of breathtaking in itself when you don't see a lot of weed. But then you go to these farms, like you saw in our video, and you'll see soon in more pictures, is when they're surrounded by sunflowers, and there's worms in the dirt and potatoes to like keep the gophers away, and all these bees buzzing around, and natural pesticides in the area. It's just so much better. And then of course what they do for their communities is also super important to us, that they're not dumping waste in local watersheds, or not paying their employees properly. It's all these things. So one thing we look for, of course, is the actual farm, but then certifications go a long way too in any field to give you some credibility where there's some oversight. So almost all of the farms we work with are either Sun and Earth, Dem Pure, or OCal certified. And that's where they have third party folks come out, check out the farm, understand their whole cultivation plan and practices, and look at these things like, where's their water coming from, what are they doing with their waste, what are they applying, if anything, to their plants. So those things are important to us, since we can't quite be organic yet. So OCal is the newest one, and it's comparable to organic. But again, because of federal illegality, we still can't say organic for cannabis.
Yeah.
So sad.
Just to reiterate, so Sun and Earth is probably the most common one. Almost all of our farms are Sun and Earth certified, and I'm also on the board of Sun and Earth, just to be transparent. There are the three pillars. So again, it's really important about the cultivation practices, but then there's these other two of human empowerment and community engagement, where again, this cannabis community is so strong, but you gotta also practice what you preach and show up. And a lot of these farms participate in farmers markets and CSA boxes, and just really good leaders of their community. And especially now that they don't have to hide. I mean, a lot of our community had to hide for so long, and now when farms can be honest, it's so refreshing.
Yeah, come out to the light and be community partners, and it's wonderful.
And educate. I mean, that's what we all do, from everyone at pharmacy, like in person, to our customers and patients, to us, in any forum we can. It's educate people on what makes cannabis special and how you can make a difference. And and I think Mason, I wanted to say something before when he said, like, you can think of it recreationally or medicinally, but I think those that think they're just using it recreationally don't understand the medicinal benefits they may be getting, and why I think it's so different than alcohol. Obviously, there's so many benefits and way fewer harms, and just something that we think is important for people to understand.
Yep.
Hey Mason, take it for a second. My son's knocking on the
door. Gotcha. Absolutely. I think kind of piggybacking off of that, we realize too that our products do take a little bit more of an understanding, because it's not just your typical high THC, low cost, and nothing else matters, and that's really where we understand that we're not the cheapest product on the shelf, but what we do come with are these certifiable, amazing farms that you get this product from, where another analogy I make too is, think about buying vegetables, and would you rather go buy your mass-produced vegetable from it's from Walmart, or I don't think they'll sue us or anything if I say their name on here, but like some mass-produced entity like that, or would you rather buy it from a farmer's market where that those farmers straight from their own terroir, from their own soil, are you can see visibly how much juicier that tomato is coming from a farm like that. So it really adds to our overall quality of product and what we have to offer.
Those products that come at a higher price also go there and pay their workers a higher wage too, which is why you're paying a higher price for a higher quality product, which gives you a higher, better result in the end as well. So
absolutely.
Sorry for the interruption.
No problem.
No worries. We're a team.
Right, that's why we're both here.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the map of our farms. So like we've mentioned, we source from exclusively Northern California, from these 5 counties. So the lowest one you see is Santa Cruz County. That's Coastal Sun, one that we work with down there. Sonoma Hills is in Sonoma County. Essentia has actually just moved there. I don't know if they're listed here, but we're going to show them. And then we have Mendo and Humboldt going up north, and then Nevada County out to the east near Tahoe. So yeah, again, some really unique, interesting climates too. You can see some are closer to the coasts, some are at different elevations from not very high to 3,000-4,000 feet. So you're going to see all these nuances, again, that word, from these different microclimates. And even I was at Happy Day last week checking out stuff that's harvesting soon, and they have, it's a family, and it's like dad has a plot and the 2 brothers have plots like just I don't know, quarter mile apart, and they see these little differences in how the fog will roll in at different times of day to them, and one plot is drier and one is experiences that fog. So in their decades of doing this, they've learned maybe what strain works better in a different place because of that microclimate, and it's just fascinating. And Emerald Spirit's another one that we really like to work with. They grow some of the most unique cannabis with THCV rich and CBG rich and CBC and CBD. Their Pink Boost and Emerald Spirit, and Harmony Rose are 2 of our favorites that we've worked with. And they are scientists like me, or nerds, and they just track stuff, and they've been sharing some of their genetics with other farms. So this is like the ideal that I'd like to see, where it's the exact same clones and putting them in these different places and seeing from what you feed it to its environment. And they've let people grow it indoors to greenhouse to outdoors, and seen some very interesting differences. And I think there's still so much for us to learn in these things, but what makes it so cool to me is like why a 2022 Pink Boost Goddess is going to be different than a 2023.
Cool.
Not to mention our 2023 Harmony Rose won Emerald Cup this year for CBD alternative vapes. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Actually, fourth year in a row, not to also toot our horn, but that is so again, the video said it. It's more than THC, and it's what we care about. I love THC too, but the unique profiles this plant can make, and that you can breed and see change, quickly in generations of plants versus generations of humans. But so we've really focused on CBD rich medicine and the acids. We think that CBDA and THCA are equally as important. And then the ones I mentioned, the unique ones that we're learning more about, THCV, which can be energizing and uplifting and not as psychoactive as THC. And then CBN we have in a lot of our products, which can help you rest or sleep. So yeah, just kind of playing with these, potentials that we have from different plants is fun. And, and we love hearing back from people about what's working too. It's like, we don't know it all yet. We're using the best information we have to make these products, but love to hear from people about like what's working and what's not, and want you to learn too. you know, like we showed on our boxes, like look on the back and start to learn like, oh, I love that strain or I didn't love that strain. Like, what's the number one terpene? Like maybe that one's not for me. You know, a lot of people are like, oh man, I don't like weed. It made me anxious or like nervous or racy, or like, I bet I know why you were smoking Jack Herrera or something.
I've been hearing more and more customers come in and say, you know, I can't have this terpene or that terpene, and I'm liking that. I'm appreciating it. They're starting to like recognize that more, you know, more so, which is, I'm appreciating, you know, customers being more knowledgeable about those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's beyond indica and sativa. That's kind of
Right.
where we need to get, because in reality, like most plants are hybrids. You know, we've been crossbreeding for so long to try to bring in unique characteristics, you know, from flavor to effect to its resiliency too as a plant in the environment. Like, you know, hey, like we crossed it with this that we saw have great like PM resistance or something. So, you know, just different things that you can do to make your plants better.
Yeah.
All right, let's show you some cool farms now. So we'll just click through these a bit and just, you know, Mason, feel free to throw in any comments about the farms. But, you know, this isn't everyone we work with. We probably work with about, I mean, the map showed it probably most accurately, about a dozen farms. And yeah, it changes from season to season on like what we're looking for, what people are growing, you know, the ups and downs of this cannabis world too, of people, you know, taking a season off or something. But yeah, Wildland's one of our favorites. We've worked with them for a long time. They're out near Covelo. They grew I think our first Emerald Cup when
Those
in the CBD
colas.
category was Electric Jaw. But yeah, here again, you can just see, I mean, this sea of green here too. And these this must have been a couple falls ago, you know, not long before harvest, where you've got the colas peeking through the trellises. But yeah, they're resilient too. Like they had, I think it was the 2021 fires, like come literally right up to their garden. And, you know, again, where community comes together is to support each other and save the farm. I mean, I know some stuff got a bit smoke damage, but they didn't lose it all and didn't lose the farm. It was amazing. So, and the reason, again, why we should be growing this way is because, you know, the things we're doing to our climate are causing these things to happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I just read a statistic that growing around 4 pounds of cannabis indoors is around the same electricity as the average American uses per year, just to grow 4 pounds of indoor cannabis. And just the amount of stress it's putting on our grid and the amount of soil we have to destroy and throw out in these massive indoor grows that, you know, as opposed to taking it from natural sunlight, having these beautiful ecosystems within these farms that are self-sustaining and self-promoting is just almost a no-brainer in the sense, you know, of like energy efficiency and grow and agricultural practices.
Yeah, and here's Foothill River Farms, one of our favorites up in Nevada County. They've been doing it a long time, and one of our favorite CBD suppliers, you know, that they're super passionate about, you know, that type of medicine. ACDC and MetaHaze are two that we've been working with them for years, and that they've, you know, keep going back to and making sure that there's access to those quality plants and products. But yeah, you see all sorts of kinds of, you know, farms that we work with. The first two you see are a bit more traditional, where it's like, you know, they kind of have their cannabis area, you know, but living soils and here's raised beds. But then we'll keep moving towards ones. I mean, this is an older picture of Foothill too. They have a greenhouse now too in one of those areas, so they can grow a little bit more. But then we'll get into some of the ones like Moonmaid or Emerald Spirit, who are in the videos or I talked about, that really kind of pushed to that next level where, you know, the plants are all over their homestead. Like, you know, Tina has plants like right out of her, you know, kitchen window, and different areas of their land where they have different little plots or different strains growing, but surrounded again by these beautiful other plants companions that'll attract these pollinators and help protect the plants and just make big beautiful trees. Oh, this is a cool. Let's see if this will work. This was a
If it was, if it was a video, it won't work because it's a PDF now.
That's right. I embedded a video that was like them trimming this or cutting this, harvesting this plant from start to finish. It was kind of cool. Like, what do you call that? Time lapse. But imagine them taking that plant from that big mama down to individual flowers.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one of my faves. Like, that's a real human there standing next to these cannabis plants. So this is Bryceland Forest Farm, up in kind of west of 101, so a little bit more temperate, Humboldt County, southern Humboldt, and they just grow amazing trees, and they have beautiful gardens, and we've done the Mother's Milk and Apricot Train Wreck with Bryceland, and just great people and great plants. I mean,
it looks like just one of those leaves is like bigger than that guy's head.
Yeah.
For real. And these weren't even, obviously, you can tell they're not fully flowered. Like, these things weren't even done yet. But ones that you need a ladder to harvest. But yeah, imagine, back to this one again. I mean, some of these can be like 10-pound plants where you get that much harvest. And like Mason said, imagine the energy to make 4 pounds indoors when there's just the sun's energy and their energy of what, they're putting into the plants and feeding their plants. It's not, this terrible carbon suck.
And how many pounds might come off just this one plant?
My goodness.
Some of the big ones, those ones could be a 10-pounder.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But yeah, quite amazing. And especially when you can just walk amongst them and, get the resin all over your arms and smell like weed for days. Here's Emerald Spirit. Like I mentioned, I was also visiting them last week. They are the ones, like I mentioned, that grow some really unique genetics. The Pink Boost Goddess, that's shown there on the left. Just super unique, usually 2-to-1 or 1-to-1 THC to THCV. So one of the highest producing THCV strains you can find, and just delicious as well. And now they're working, on crossing this with other ones to bring in other terp profiles too. So, this one kind of has a bit more sativa profile, where they want to see what would it be like within an indica terp profile, but THCV there. So things that we're going to start to like find out in the seasons to come on, like, how will that change the experience.
This is the mother and the 2 sons, right?
Yep. Katie Jean and Joseph, they're amazing. Yeah, I mean, Katie Jean's been breeding for a long time, and they're, like I said, my kind of dorks. They love analyzing this, and they now even have like a little analytical machine on farm where they can do this from seed to seed and like pheno to pheno, start to see the differences on farm, be like, let's not get that one, let's grow that one. And because they're kind of trying to select for certain characters, and sometimes they get surprised. They're like, oh my gosh, this one is like rich in CBG or something. So they're kind of chasing certain cannabinoids once they see it express. And now then taking it to that next level of like, all right, we found this cannabinoid profile. How do we bring in, a different terp profile? Like, they crossed, I think it was the Rose Queen, which is high CBD, with Blueberry Muffin. And like, it is amazing. And it has that Blueberry Muffin nose, but then it's really nicely balanced because of the Rose Queen in terms of cannabinoid profile. I just love that kind of stuff. Sonoma Hills Farm, another great one. So they're like in the Petaluma wind gap. So one of the ones that would be at like lower elevation and, really hardy plants because of the wind they see through there. But yeah, they're, kind of they're a farm that likes to pair food and cannabis. So they grow a lot of food there as well and like to throw awesome parties and like, have that pairing of food and cannabis.
It's cool.
In Essentia, as I mentioned. So this was their farm in Mendocino, but now they've moved to Sonoma County actually onto a little bit bigger farm. And these guys are just also genetic wizards. They breed themselves and have been doing some awesome tissue culture too to really learn and stabilize some of their genetics. But they, along with Emerald Spirit, are probably the most Emerald Cup Award winning ones that we work with. I think they had 4 top 10s or something in the last Emerald Cup. Their stuff is amazing. We've worked with a variety of them. Like I think the Lime Juice is placed before that we've worked with, the Pixie Dust, Magic Wand. They have fun names too. The Buddha's Hand we just did. But yeah, some really, really great stuff from them as well. And that's me and Jimmy.
There's Jimmy.
The aforementioned Jimmy. But yeah, Jimmy worked at Moonmade for a long time and, really was instrumental in helping us set up our supply chain. We were passionate about, what we stand for. But I don't think we quite imagined that we could have this amazing of a network without him being out there and connecting the dots and helping people understand that where their product's going to end up is going to, represent them well.
Absolutely. Not only that, but he was a great mentor to me, and it was wonderful to work with him in this capacity because he is such a brain for those for agricultural and farming. But it's amazing the people you meet in this industry who are also just awesome at sales and knowing the back end of everything too. So it's him at first glance, he's just a dude at a Fish concert, but then he's got such an amazing brain, and I respect him so much. So we're so lucky to have had him and been able to work with him.
You could be like your college professor or a dude like at a Fish concert. Like he could be like either one.
He could be either one. Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, this again just shows why what we do is fun too. I mean, again, we care about the medicine, but it's fun what we do. We get to work with great people, great farms, great retailers, great everyone in between. Like, because again, there's so much passion in this industry and still so much potential despite the, obstacles we've faced. But it makes us stronger and tougher. And, cannabis years are kind of beyond dog years.
Yeah, really.
But yeah, we'll take a quick look at our products just so everyone can see again what happens to this weed when it comes to us and what do we turn it into. So here again, you can see kind of our array from pre-rolls to, so we don't make packaged extracts like dabbable extracts anymore. We used to. That video said we make diamonds and full spectrum crystalline, as we called it, but now that ends up in some of our pre-rolls. So that's kind of where we've focused that, but that's a pretty picture of some extract on top. Vape carts and then tinctures. So those are kind of our standard bearers, things that we've always made and, believed in those form factors for people as an alternative to smoking. Here we go. As we've mentioned, we've won some awards. Emerald Cups, and usually in, like we've mentioned, the CBD rich categories. We make great THC products too, but so do a lot of other people. And I think where we've focused has, helped us stand out.
Another honorable mention, considering our CBD products too, is that we work with a guy named Corey, who is famously known as Corey the CBD Surfer. So if you go on YouTube and check out Corey the CBD Surfer, you'll see a really great video of him But essentially, his story in a very short breakdown was surviving a really intense stroke and brain injury. And he's now a super fan of chemistry, since using our CBD tinctures and vapes have helped him recover tremendously. And I'm so lucky to have been able to work with him and donate to his TBI support group down in Santa Ana at the pharmacy in Santa Ana. So if anyone in that region is looking for some support, also we run that down there. But it's just to note also how impactful it can be medicinally for people's lives. And whereas myself included, we do a lot of the smoking and everything just after a day of work, and like Paul said earlier, we're not even really aware of the medical benefits we're actually getting when I am just smoking after a long day of work. Or in Corey's scenario, it helped him surf again. So these are amazing medicinal products that have so much potential. And so yeah, we're just scratching the surface, and I love being a part of it.
Yeah,
Back to you, Paul.
We'll run through this really quick. Just show you a couple pictures of our products and them being consumed in fun ways too. Then we can get to a few questions. But yeah, carts. Here's just highlighting a couple. The Pink Boost, as I mentioned, grown by Emerald Spirit, that THCV rich one. That graphic's actually wrong, just about the ratios. Like I said, it's usually about 2-to-1. The batch that we just produced and will be out next week is about 55% THC and 25% THCV. And then the Moonbeam is one where it's a nice balance of CBD, THC, and CBN. And we have that in vape and tincture, where I think, to me, I say, if you really need a quick shut off, like hit the vape of the Moonbeam. But if you want it to be like longer and sustained, go for the tincture.
Yeah, I found the vape helps a lot with waking up in the middle of the night, just FYI.
Yeah, real quick.
That instantaneous, exactly, right next to your bed.
But yeah, then tinctures, as mentioned. So here's a single origin one where the Lady Benbow is a single strain that we made one batch from. So we have those types and the moods. So there's a 30 mil single origin, really good value, very nicely dosed. Whereas the moods are nice trial size. They're standardized in terms of their ratio of 4 to 5 cannabinoids, CBD, THC, CBDA, THCA, and then some of them, like the Snooze has CBN, the Relief has CBG, and the Energize has THCV.
And I have a question too about this. In your professional opinion, how long do you think somebody needs to leave a tincture under their tongue for optimal absorption? Because I've heard people say, 10 seconds. I always say at least 30 seconds. I hear some people say like 2 minutes. Like, what would you say that you need to hold it under your tongue before, like, people, swallow anything down that they can't, have absorb under their tongue?
I'm honestly one that doesn't really say it has to be held there. There's certainly some buccal absorption there, but our tinctures are so simply formulated that honestly there's not something that's going to make it penetrate that much there. Where if you just swallow it, you'll kind of then have the more typical edible experience. But I don't think it hurts to leave it there for, 30 seconds or something. But I think you're probably going overboard if you try to leave it there for minutes. You're like, this is kind of weird and tasting funny, or like, but because it's just simple coconut oil, coconut MCT, and cannabis oil. In the moods, there is a very tiny amount of an essential oil for flavor. A little goes a long way. Those terpenes could potentially help absorption a little bit, but honestly, I tell people you probably don't have to worry about it too much. There are some products that maybe are formulated with different things that might help that absorption, but long-winded answer, I think you're doing fine if you just take it down.
I'll say too, with the unwind, the 18-to-1, I've actually suggested this to a lot of people that come in as new consumers that have been given like cancer diagnoses and that are using it, in addition to like chemotherapy, and that this has, helped a lot of people greatly. And so this is something that we recommend a lot, and that we sell a lot at our dispensaries, and that we, as employees, recommend to a lot of friends and family. So although we sell a lot of them, that one in particular is one that we actually recommend at a lot. So we love your guys' products. So, but just like I know a lot of people deal with that, with a lot of friends and family, unfortunately dealing with cancer. And so this is like an entry product that we actually, do provide a lot to people. So
and not to mention,
in making these wonderful products. So they do provide a lot of relief to people.
Yeah, not to mention too, especially with the Moods line, they're very affordable in that sense too, where my past experience with helping cancer patients find their cannabis medicine, a lot of that was a big lift for them to put, $80 to $100 down on a tincture to just hopefully it works, and whereas, we really have this between like a $25 to $30 window where, you still get over 300 milligrams of cannabinoids per ratio. And so, yeah, and like you said too, Candace, there's the unwind, and there's also the acidic forms, of that, you could get some nausea relief from the THCA without getting you high, and in certain aspects like that too. So, and the other factor too, and Paul even kind of mentioned it with the sublingual absorption, is it doesn't have to be necessarily just right under the tongue. I love to do my trainings with staff and for customers with these tinctures, and I bring like Rice Krispie treats with me, and I can just dose myself a little Rice Krispie treat with however much I want, either just the CBD one or maybe the blue one to get really messed up. It can kind of be for whatever purpose you'd like, or put it in a morning smoothie. I love to put the orange THCV CBD dominant ratio in a smoothie in the morning, because it's a perfect like pre-workout start to my day, where it gets me a little buzz but gets me zoned in and focused. You can really have fun with these. They don't have to be a lot of tinctures, even the word is very medicinal driven, which of course that's one of the best benefits of this. But it can also be used as your edible substitute. If you want to have something sugar-free too, these are all sugar-free, vegan, I believe gluten-free. That probably makes sense if it's just coconut oil, cannabis oil. So, it can also be a really great substitute for anyone just trying to have a healthier consumption style. I personally smoke way too much, I would say. So, using these tinctures goes a long way. And then with our 30 milliliter single origin tinctures, those have a great cost benefit. If you assume about 20 to 25 milligrams per full dropper, you have 30 doses of that at about $45, and that's 10 times the amount of your normal edible in terms of the amount you're getting in cannabinoids, and for only twice the cost. So has a lot of great benefits on either side of that, but also of course helping the medical patient too.
Yeah, I love tinctures. I really do. I think they're the most, versatile of all the delivery methods. They go the farthest. They are like the most cost effective. So, and they're the most underrated.
Totally.
But that's about it. Then we have pre-rolls. I'll just show those quick because I know we're running out of time. Singles and 4-packs, infused, awesome, delicious. Thank you everyone for your time.
Sorry, I didn't realize that where we're at with time.
Because I feel like we could talk like all night. So
absolutely.
I have one really important question for you guys, being that the topic is, craft cannabis and why it matters. What do you guys think, with, the large cannabis farms, getting larger, and it feels like the smaller guys, kind of getting squeezed out, especially with like the challenges the industry is going through this year. What do you think would happen to the industry if, the craft cannabis farmers, did get squeezed out, and if they didn't make it? What would the implications to the industry, the products, that, the patients? What do you think what do you think would happen if we did lose our craft cannabis farmers?
I would cry.
I know. We're going to end on a somber note here. The topic is, why it matters. What would happen? Why is it so important that people support craft cannabis farmers and companies like Chemistry?
Yeah, I mean, you'd certainly see a loss of a lot of unique, special cannabis. There's still plenty out there. There's no doubt that there's plenty of weed being grown in our state and our country. Like, there's not going to be a shortage of weed, but the variety and that love that's in a lot of these small farms cannabis is just can be missing from the others when you can't pay attention to all 10,000 of your plants or something. Like, whereas some of these, when they've got 100, but they grow to be 10 feet tall, like, you're gonna give them more attention. But yeah, the genetics that could be lost would be sad. The heritage legacy genetics that people have been growing for a long time, I would be sad to see that potentially go away. And then with that, you never know the beneficial effects that those plants could have. So it's like unfathomable, unpredictable, and how bad it could be. Like I said, the access wouldn't be the problem. It'd be just the hurt to the communities. I mean, you think of Humboldt and Mendocino counties and Lake County and some of these other counties where it's such an important part of the economy too, and the community itself, that it would be beyond just a few farmers that would be hurting. It would be like the communities would start to struggle.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, you're really supporting these people and their families and their communities when you're making these choices, and instead of some of the massive 1,000-acre kind of things, and the things that I think we all dreaded of legalization happening too fast or without too many controls, of like, what if we had the Marlboro of weed, just growing a bunch of whatever. That's not, like I said, I talked about monocrops. Like, I don't want to see monocrops of anything, like preferably not my food, definitely not my weed. I want it surrounded by diversity, which, end on that, like, our world is a better place with diversity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think of people like Soul Spirit Farms, and how important, those folks are and what they're doing, and how important it is to protect people like that, and how much they care about, what they're doing, and growing the best cannabis, and furthering, the important minor cannabinoids and what they can really do for patients. Did you want to add to that at all, Mason?
I think that was very well said, and we want to make it a good place for young girls like her to grow up in, and to help with the community and be involved, and it be sustainable for that generation. And I think also what could be at risk is the medical community, and the patients who were kind of integral in even starting the revolution of getting cannabis to be in the legalization conversation. We didn't mean to rhyme there, but I think that could also be very impactful to the industry, but also the patients. And by patients, I also mean consumers. Like we've mentioned before, we don't even know sometimes it's helping us. So I think having these communities and this love labor for these crops are extremely integral in building our industry into a more diverse and also inclusive for our patients and for our consumers. So
that's wonderful. Thank you guys for those thoughts. I do have one question from the audience that I wanted to ask you guys. They wanted to know if you guys had any suggestions for best companion plants. So plants that could help naturally prevent pests so that people don't have to use any pesticides. Do you guys have any suggestions or things that you guys have seen the craft cannabis cultivators use?
I'm going to let Paul take that one.
I mean, so many plants that are possible. I mean, I mentioned, the ones that can be just there to deter certain big pests, like putting things by your roots, like potatoes and other things that gophers like, where, if you don't want to be caging around your root balls, or also just having some other food around there is unique too. Basil is one that I've always heard can be good for some pest deterrents around your cannabis. But I mean, I think again, you can't go wrong with just a diversity of plants. There are some things like I think root vegetables that you maybe don't want around some of your plants, but like in terms of flowers and things that are just going to attract bees and other pollinators, like you can't go wrong.
Okay. Somebody said marigolds, lemon balm, rosemary, sage, citronella, other herbs. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, those things all are releasing other terpenes too that can help and be defensive, whether it's, attracting something that's going to eat bugs that you don't want around or, just deterring them in general. I think those are good suggestions, but, I think those are by and large based on terpenes, which is, fascinating too, is like all plants, are releasing these and, under different stresses. And I think, again, what makes outdoor sun-grown cannabis so cool is that the stress that it is under, like it can be good for it, it will make it express things differently. So, some stress for a plant is good.
Yeah, true. Well, this has been very, very enlightening and educational, and I've really, enjoyed having you guys on. Thank you so much for your time putting together this presentation. This has been really wonderful. Thank you guys for being on today.
Thank you, Candace.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, and please, everybody, they have their Instagram listed here. Follow them. You can also visit their website and get more information. I also mentioned that they have a Vimeo and YouTube page. You can get more information about chemistry. Please support your local craft cannabis cultivators. Also support great brands like Chemistry. Check out their products if you guys haven't already. They're wonderful products. They have a great effect, and you'll definitely enjoy them. Thank you guys, everybody, for being with us. Mason, Paul, the wonderful team at Chemistry. Thank you for all that you do and for supporting SB34. Thank you to all of our viewers for joining us for this episode of the Friends of the Farm lecture series. I hope that you all enjoyed it and that we were able to share some information that will help you become better informed cannabis consumers and that this information will help you find relief. We look forward to seeing you next time and hope that everybody stays safe, healthy, and well.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.